And, I studied American history in college. And, one of the ways that we study American history is according to these four big realignments that happen among the parties during different parts of our history. And we're going through one of those realignments today where the Democratic Party was the party of civil rights, has now become the party of censorship, the party of surveillance.
Yeah.
It was the party of that was fighting against the subversion of American democracy by big corporations, by Wall Street and corporate robber barons and titans. Today, the Democratic Party is the party of Wall Street, is the party of big pharma, of big tech, of big ag, of big food, of the military-industrial complex. When I was a kid, the Democratic Party was the party of the poor. Mm-hmm. The Republican Party was the wealthy party. That's where most of the wealth in this country, 70 or 80%, was in the Republican Party. We were the party of the firefighters, the cops, the union leaders. And it was very interesting at the Republican convention, you had for the first time in history, Sean O'Brien, the president of the Teamsters Union, speaking to great applause. This was unheard of. I was on tour recently with J.D. Vance, mm-hmm. and we spoke at the firefighters convention in Boston, and he was touting about the importance of today's Republican Party of collective bargaining, which was a criminal act in the past to the Republicans. During the 2020 election, Jordan, roughly 50% of the people in this country voted for Trump, and roughly 50% voted for Biden. The 50% who voted for Trump own 30% of the wealth in this country. The 50% who voted for Biden own 70%. So the Republican Party is now the party of the poor, the party of the working class, the working poor, of unions, and the Democratic Party has become the party of billionaires. Donald Trump chased the billionaires out of the Republican Party, and they've all gone over to chase the neocons out of the Republican Party. And I would also argue the Republican Party is now the party of true environmentalists. The fixation that, and this is the space that I came out of, and I got into, environmental work. I'm working for commercial fishermen on the Hudson River, and then rivers all over the country, protecting habitat, protecting water, clean air, protecting our children against toxins. And it's endocrine disruptors. There's a chemical now, the second most used chemical in this country, a pesticide in this country, is atrazine. It's banned in Europe, banned all over the world, but we use it here. It's in 63% of our drinking water. There's a famous African-American scientist named Tyler Hayes, who's at the University of Berkeley. He did a famous experiment that anybody can look up on the internet. And he put 70 African water frogs in an aquarium. He put atrazine in the water of that aquarium that was less than EPA's level. So it's less than the levels we have in 63% of our water supply. 60 of those frogs became sterile. They're all male frogs. 60 became sterile. 10% of those frogs turned female, and they were able to produce fertile eggs. So it changed their sex. And of course, normally, when you see something like that in an animal model, the first thing you want to do is test it in a mammalian model and then a human model. Those tests were never done. So we don't know what impact it's having on our children, if any. But I think those studies ought to be done.